Hey guys, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Sheila White. So Sheila, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out. So Sheila, you got typed as an ISFP by Dave and Shan, but what kind of specific ISFP are you? Like what is your animal stack,
Okay,
sexual modalities? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm FF, FI, SE, consume, play, sleep, blast.
And then when you got your type back, how did you feel about it? Like, and what did you think?
I was a little surprised, but not totally surprised. I had thought maybe ISFP would work for me, but I also was thinking maybe NF was, a possibility as well.
And why did you feel that you might have been NF instead of ISFP?
Well, for me, like concrete details, I don't really care too much about them. I'm the type who just give me the gist of something, and I like to fill in the blanks. Don't overload me with too many details because I'll just be like, too much, too. I yeah, I find that really boring, and I don't know. I'd rather fill in the details myself.
And why do you think you ended up being ISFP after getting tested? You know, because you said that you don't like the boring details, yet you came across as someone that is actually detailed oriented. You know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's, Cheyenne had said that I love to do a lot. Like I love to garden and I raise animals, so I'm do a lot of hands-on things. Painting and sewing and very creative, and I feel like I have to create all the time. It's like if I'm not creating something, whether it's in landscaping or an art piece, I don't feel like I'm myself. So I think she thought SE for me then because I'm such a hands-on creator.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense then, because like I think if you were an NF, like it's not like you wouldn't indulge in doing some of that stuff, but that would be kind of like a back burner or something that you would do when you're older, not something you would do when you're younger. I've definitely never seen any NF who does it, in their 20s. It's not until their 30s they start exploring that side of things.
Well, how old do you think I am?
No, I'm not saying you're old. I'm saying,
Oh,
I'm saying if,
no, I am old.
oh, okay, okay. I don't know how old. I don't
I'm
know.
almost 47.
Oh, okay, I thought you were in the 40s, but like I didn't like
Yeah.
when I said that, I mean like NFs in general. Like my sister is an INFJ, right? So
Mhm.
like, it wasn't until she was in her 30s that she started painting, right? So that's kind of like what I was trying to get at. So like I was trying to compare,
Okay.
someone that's an NF and someone that's not an NF.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And when I was younger, I don't think I did a lot of that stuff either. It
yeah.
wasn't until I got a little older. So, but yeah, I'm totally open with SE. As a kid, I loved, makeup and hair, and I remember like going into my mom's purse when I was little and stealing her lipstick and putting lipstick on. And I used to cut all my doll's hair, and I used to cut my sister's hair in like junior high. One time my mom was out cutting the grass, and I'm like, Sherry, you want me to give you a haircut? And we went in the bathroom and I chopped her hair like short steps in the back with a rat tail back in the 80s when that was
Yeah.
in. My mom came in the house and was so mad. She's crying. My sister's like, she made me do it. But I loved all that from a very young age. So I can see where SF is me.
Is it a younger sister that you convinced to do this?
Yes. I was such a bully. I was such a mean sister.
That's so funny. How many brothers or sisters do you have?
I have one younger sister and an older brother.
Oh, so you're the middle child.
I am a middle child. But my brother, he was raised by my grandparents. So in the house, it was just my sister and I. So I kind of take on the older sister mentality. but I do have a half brother that's older.
I see. Well, I do get that vibe from you that you're the older, the big sister, you could say. uh,
Yeah, I do have that vibe, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Um, well, you mentioned that you don't care so much about the detail though. So is it because it's you have your SE is feminine? Like it's movable, flexible, you know?
Probably, yeah. In my memory, I remember weird, stupid facts, um, but I don't remember a lot of other things. Like, I don't know why. Like, I'm like the Cliff Clavin. Do you remember Cheers at all?
I know Cheers, but
The
I've
TV
never
show
seen
Cheers.
it.
Okay, well, Cliff Clavin, he's like Mr. Know-it-all facts, and I will just have these random facts that are like in my brain that have no reason, and I'll just, oh yeah, 5,280 feet in a mile, or just things that are like cemented in there
Yeah.
that have no use to me. But then you ask me what I did yesterday, I'm like, I don't even know what I did yesterday. So really
Wow.
random. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's super fascinating to me, like the feminine SE, because like, I have some friends who has feminine SE, and I'll tell them about my childhood, right? Like in great detail, and they're like, I don't even know what happened yesterday, And then I'm thinking to myself, like, how do you not know what happened yesterday? But it wasn't until like Dave and Shan talked about feminine and masculine sensory that it made sense to me. I'm like, oh, I see that. That makes
Yeah, and it does make sense. And I think maybe that's why me trying to see SE in me, I'm like, I just don't see it, but probably because it is feminine. So
yeah. And then I'm looking at your like um your functions and animal stack. Your
mhm.
sleep is double masculine, and with your Fi and your Ni, and it's also NF. I think that's why you. So I think your internal world is NF, and it's masculine, like it's very solid, like, and NF is all about like, let's make the world a better place, let's, that kind of.
Yes,
I don't know if you have that kind of mentality inside you, like.
I do. And yeah, and I think that's why some people are like, you give off a NF vibe. Um, and I think it is because it's the Fi and the Ni are masculine, and so my inner world is very much NF, and that's why I felt NF
Yes.
when I feel NF, but the outside world sees the ST, feminine ST for me. So I'm kind of confusing for people.
Yeah, well, I can see that, but it looks like your lead function is SF. So it's, as David Chan would describe, it's the cool person, the cool vibe, like, popularity,
Yes.
image.
And I think the IP in me fought that. Like I didn't want I always fit in pretty easily with people, so I never struggled with feeling not fitting in. I mean, parts over the years, but it just came easily and naturally. But I didn't ever follow the crowd. It's like I wanted to be kind of my own style as well. And even even now when I see like things that are really popular or in style, I kind of fight it. I'm like, I'm not going to buy that because everybody else does. So I think that's the IP.
I think it's two things. Yeah, number one is the IP. I don't know if you've ever done your Enneagram, but
I have.
you sound like a type 4. Like, I want to be different.
Do I?
Yeah, yeah, you want to be different, you want to be unique. If other people are doing this, you're not interested in it anymore because it's not unique and different anymore. Which
Yes.
can also be good, because I know a lot of people in my day-to-day life who are very successful as a IP type 4, because like, I'll give you an example. My One of my best friend, his fiance used to be the lead designer for Lululemon. um and she's an IP, and she's a type 4, and she's so good at designing clothes, right? Like her designs are the ones that people buy. So And then she always wants to be unique. She's like, nah, I don't like this. It's too common, you know, like this doesn't stand out. And she just has an eye for it, right? So I think being a type 4 definitely has a lot of perks, like when it comes to, you know, coming up with something that is really eye catching. So I think, you know, for you, that's definitely an asset. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm a 9, but 4 in my tri type, and a 7. So like, but I keep going back and forth because I can be kind of punchy as well for being a 9. People, but definitely was more of a 9 growing up. Um, I let people walk all over me and didn't say anything. And it took a long time for me to kind of start standing up for myself and having my voice. So I feel like 9 or 4, but I kind of lean more for a 9. But I will fight back too. So
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say because it's, you know, I just met you, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't really say, but
Oops.
it's also possible you could be a 4 with a tri-type 9, right? So it's hard. It can be both, either or, right?
Right. Yeah. It is hard. The Enneagram, it can be hard too. Yeah. Even though, yeah, it's all hard, isn't it? Trying to figure out yourself. I don't know.
I think
It was nice though.
I think the best thing to do is like to take yourself and kind of figure out who you are, and then cross-reference it with like 10 people that know you really well, like just your close friends and family members, like, you know,
Mhm.
your younger sister, your mom, you know, just people that really know you, you know, and then you can say, okay, this is what so don't tell them what you are, because then obviously you might influence their opinion, but, you know, get them to read the descriptions and stuff and look at you, and then ask them, it's okay, which one do you think I am? Because that's what I did. And then everyone, like when I did the Enneagram, for example, everyone's like, type 7, type 7, type 7. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, well, everyone's saying the same thing. So, and I thought it was something else actually at first when I did the Enneagram. But like when everyone said type 7, I read the description. I was like, oh, okay, that's spot on. You know?
Yeah. My husband's a 7, and he is a balls to the wall 7. So I know 7s well. I love 7s.
Thanks.
You're my favorite.
Thanks. What do you mean balls to wall? Like,
It means like just go, go, go. Everything's just so exciting and the life of the party, and yeah, just adventure, and yeah, just crazy. Like high energy, just like little kid. Like they just see the world like their oyster, and they just want it all.
yeah, it sounds about right. Also very, I guess, greedy for experience, I guess is the best way to describe it. So let's talk about your demons. So let's shift gears to your demons. And I mean, you know, feel free to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. So let's start with your blast first. So you have demon blast. That's kind of like your demon animal. Would you say that's about accurate? That your fourth function animal is blast? Like you have trouble with explaining concepts and teaching people things and
Yeah, because it's up in my head, and it all makes sense really easy up there, but it's super hard to get it from there out, and I stumble over my words a lot. And I'm always saying, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You understand? So I know that I struggle trying to get my point across to people, especially if something that is new and on the spot, and if you ask me a question and I haven't mulled it over and really thought about it, then it's super hard for me to just, spit it out. Yeah. I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
it's like in your head it sounds perfect, but then when you speak, it just doesn't sound anywhere close to what you were thinking in your head. Yeah.
No, at all. No.
Yeah, I can relate to you, but just because like I have felt that way too. Like I have this great idea in my head, and then when it's time to communicate to people, I'm like, I'm I'm stumbling in my words, I'm stuttering or something. So
Yeah.
I completely understand. It's probably harder for you too because your blast is fourth, you know. So I can't even
Yeah.
imagine how bad it is.
And I feel like I use my hands a lot to explain things. I think that will help. You know, I don't when I'm really explaining things, I use my hands a lot and I use face expressions a lot
Yes.
to maybe convey the words, like double solidifying of it all. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so blast. I see that.
And what about your demon TE? So it's your extroverted thinking is your fourth function. Does that mean you have trouble kind of figuring out what works for other people? Like you know what you like, but what about other people? Do you have a hard time figuring out what would work for them?
Um, I don't think I have a hard time figuring out what work. Well, maybe I put what works for me. I think that would work for them.
Oh, I see.
So I probably like, oh, that's worked for me. Maybe that'll work for them. But even if they come to me with a new problem, I'm pretty good at thinking about and running through all the different scenarios in my head, what might work for them. So, and I don't know if it's just, yeah, I was a hairstylist for 20 some years, and you get really good at speaking to all kinds of people in your chair. So I've met like just thousands of different personalities, and you have to kind of tailor the words and the thoughts. And so I don't know. I think maybe having the TE demon, being a hairstylist, I've been able to work on that a lot. So I don't see a big issue when it comes to that. So I don't know where the TE, what else TE would cause me problems.
I can give you an example. Um,
Okay.
so because I have TE also, so how I would use it. Let's say I'm planning a vacation with friends and family. What I would do is I would ask everyone, okay, what are your must see bucket lists in this country that we're gonna go travel to? So everyone tells me what their must see is like, and I tell them, okay, give me a rank, like which is like you must see it, and which ones that it's okay if you see it. If we don't see it, it's fine. You know, like you're kind of lukewarm about it. So after people tell me all this stuff, I add in my own things that I want to see, and then I piece together an itinerary where we get to see what everyone wants to see, and we get to do what everyone wants to do, and everyone's happy. So that's kind of how like I would use TE as an example. So I don't know if you've ever done anything like that, like where you would research first what everyone
Yeah.
wants, and then you would go forward, like let's say a road trip or something. I don't know.
Hmm. I don't know about the research part, but I definitely, because my TE is feminine, I'm really flexible with the tribe. And if they really want to do something, I'm not super passionate. I'm like, oh yeah, it sounds good. Well, let's do what you want to do. So I'm really go with the flow in that aspect with the TE. And I don't have a strong opinion usually, but if I do have a strong opinion, I'm going to voice it. But for the most part, I'm like always open for a new adventure as well. I'm like, oh yeah, let's. I like your thinking. Let's go that way. So I'm pretty flexible, and it's probably because it's feminine.
Right, that makes sense. I think you were spot on earlier when you said that like working as a hairstylist and meeting all sorts of people every day. I think that made your TE actually better. You know, just purely because of your line of work. Like I think if you did something else, then it wouldn't have been developed as well as you have developed yours. You know, so I think that's actually a really good thing. Now, how did you feel though, like talking to people all day long in your line of work? Did you enjoy it, like while you're kind of styling their hair?
I did, yeah. I love talking to people. I love small talk. I love deep talk. I love talking. Probably because I have play really high, so
Yes.
that I love. And no, people, I got along with everybody, and even the ones I'm kind of like, I could deal with, and just because for me, it's important that I gave them a good experience. One, it's my job, but two, I just don't want people to walk away from me not liking me, not having a good feeling about me. So I work really hard at making a good impression, and it's very important that people like me. So I just would, if I had to fake it, I'd fake it because one, they're paying me, and two, that's important to me.
Gotcha. Have you ever experienced any tidal waves with that fourth function TE? Like, did any of the tribe members ever get upset at you really badly for being quote unquote selfish? Because a lot of people would accuse, IPs as being the most selfish of all types, right? But based on what you're saying to me, it doesn't seem like it, but maybe you're faking it. I don't know. So maybe you can share a story about that.
Yeah, I can be pretty selfish. I when we were doing all this stuff, I asked like my best friend that we've been friends since kindergarten, and then I asked my sister and I asked my husband. I said, "So guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, how selfish am I?" And I
Yeah.
go, "Be honest, don't hold back." And they didn't. They're like, "Oh, you're about a 7, 7.5 selfish." I was like, "All right, well, I can handle that. At least it wasn't a 10."
Yeah.
Um, and I was, and it's yeah, I can be selfish, but I can also be very giving of my time as well. I think where I'm selfish um, is my time. Like I need a lot of downtime, and I don't know if that's just being kind of an introvert. I get tired from all the stimulation and people, so I like kind of like, okay, it's Sheila time now, nobody bother me. So I'm selfish with my time. I think that's the most selfish I can be. Or if I don't want to do something, there's no changing my mind. If my husband's like, should we go out for a walk or something tonight? I'm like, no, I'm not in the mood for a walk. And he keeps trying and trying to talk me in, and I'll just dig my heels in harder. And like, I'm not going for a walk. And so I see that masculine FI come out like, no, like this little kid pouting and being a little spoiled brat. That I see that. Yeah.
That's funny. But it doesn't seem like it's that bad though. Like at least not for you. It seems like it's pretty okay for the most part.
Yeah. And if I have to look back in my 20s or teens, yeah, I've never been overly selfish. It's always, yeah, I think for me, my I want to fit in and I want to be liked. So I know being too selfish, you're not going to achieve that goal. So um, I'm glad that my FI wants to be well liked by people. Because if I didn't really care about people, or I had that attitude like screw people, then I think I could have came off a lot more selfish in life.
I think that's very interesting because like it was your desire to get along with people and to be liked by people. Like you cared about it because I've interviewed other IPs, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they did
Mhm.
some of them told me that I don't really care what other people think, and I am more or less happy with just being me, and if people don't like that, then that's not up to me to please them. So it's interesting how even though you're an IP and other people are IPs, you're all very different, and a lot of it depends entirely on your attitude towards other people. So for you, you like other people and you want to have a good relationship with other people. So for you, you fostered that, like in your FI, like you made your FI like people, and as a result, even though you're an IP, you're not the IP that people get upset over. You're like the IP that kind of people think 7 out of 10 on selfishness. That's not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I can handle that. I can work on it, obviously, but it's never been a huge tidal wave of mine. And I was thinking about all the tidal waves. There's never been one that's crashed so hard that I've, choking on water in my life. I just feel like there's never been one that has swept me and taken me away in the current. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've always been pretty balanced, but or is it still coming? I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible, but it doesn't seem like it just talking to you. It seems like you're more or less okay with it. Like if you do have tidal waves with it, it's like really tiny ones. When they're not even,
Yeah, there.
yeah, they're not even tidal waves. They're what is it? Like just a wave, just a small wave.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. And I think, if I tried to get somebody to like me and they don't like me or find me, you know, I'll try. But then when I see that, oh yeah, that you just can't please everybody. No, not everyone's going to like you. And then I'm like, their loss. It's not my problem. So
yeah,
there comes a point where I'm just kind of like throwing the towel and like, I can only do so much to be liked, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So
right. What about your NI? So that's also a demon. So that's planning, right? Like with specific topics. Do you find that you have more trouble with planning for the future than with anything, or is it pretty good when it comes to planning for your future?
um fairly good. I mean, I could probably be a little bit better with spending, and I mean, yeah, we have savings accounts and stuff like that, but part of me is like, well, what if I die tomorrow? Like I don't like I plan because I don't want to be this poor, retired lady who can't, pay the bills. So yeah, I plan long term. Where I'm bad at planning is I don't have a set schedule for anything in life. Like, I don't, Mondays, I don't go to the grocery store and get my grocery. I go to the grocery store when we are out of groceries, or when the clothes are piling up, I do the laundry. Or the grass is too long, I cut the grass. So, some people are like, okay, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do this. And that's too stifling for me. I can't handle having too much on my plate. Or if people are like, hey, what's going on? In 2 weeks, you want to get together? I'm always like, ooh, what am I going to be doing in 2 weeks? I don't know. I don't want to commit. So I don't like committing to too many long-term plans. But I will, but I don't like doing it.
Okay, so you do it, but you don't like it.
No, but I like to know what's happening in the future, or when plans change. I I get a little my feathers get a little more ruffled. Like I take things really literally. If they're like, I'll be there at 12 o'clock noon. If it's 12:01, I'm like, they're late. So it's like very concrete. Obviously there's the sensory concrete. I take words very literally, and if they are like, oh, or they're like, we'll do this on this day, and if it doesn't happen, then I'm kind of like, so yeah, if people are going to make plans with me, then it's kind of set in stone then. And then if they want to change them, I don't go with the flow as easily as somebody else might.
And that makes sense because your N is masculine, right? So when you make a plan, then that plan has to be on the dot. Like it's not movable,
No, it's like, so, but I've gotten better, I think, because I know stuff happens in life. You can't, if somebody's running late, and I don't yell at them or like, you guys, you're 1 minute late, but in my head, I'm thinking it, but I don't ever say anything like that. But, yeah.
What if they text you? Like, what if they text you? It's like,
What,
I'm running late. I'm sorry. Something came up. And they're apologizing. They're nice about it. Is that okay then?
then that's just, yes, I'm very like, oh, that's fine. No worries. No big deal. Um, but I guess it's just kind of being nice. And I don't know if that's my FI, but like I have a really problem with there's like the store I go into all the time where I have to buy animal feed because we live on a farm, and they are the worst customer service people ever. You'll walk in, they won't even greet you and say hi, and they ring you up and they just hand the receipt back to you. No, thank you. Have a great day. No, and it irks me so much. I don't know why. And one day I went off on the lady, and my daughter, who was 12, was standing there, and she was so embarrassed. She's like, wanted to just die. But I'm like, let me give you a little piece of advice. And I'm like, being in customer service, you should just be a little more friendly and say thank you, have a nice day. And she goes to me, she said, well, I'm just having a really bad day. I go, well, then it's always a really bad day because every time I come in here, you're just mean. And I don't know why that irks me so badly
Yeah.
that, most people be like, just relax. But I don't know, when people are rude, it just gets under my skin so much. And I don't know if that's my masculine FI, like, how dare you? I'm nice to everybody. You should be nice. What is that?
It sounds like FE actually. Strangely enough, it doesn't sound like FI, but they did say that FI and TE together becomes FE. So maybe for you, like you take it personally when someone's rude to you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like because you're a single observer, right? So you're not seeing the point of view of the other person. I'm not defending the rude lady, by the way. The rude lady
Mhm.
should not be rude, especially if you're working in a customer service environment. Like that doesn't make any sense. But like if someone's rude to me, I'm like, okay, that person's rude. I'm probably not coming back here. Or like it's like whatever, I'll just ignore this person.
Yeah.
But-
And 9 out of 10 times I will, but there was just this one girl in particular, and she probably was like crabby old lady. And I'm like, but if it's your job, and maybe it's because I worked in the customer service industry for so long, that's just your job. Suck it up. If you're having a bad day, just be nice. How hard is it to be nice? So I don't know.
I remember I took a year off to go backpacking. So I traveled and whatnot. And I remember I was in this weird country called Guyana. And I was staying in his guest house. And the caretaker of the building was this Indian woman who was extremely rude. Like she would yell at me and stuff. And I actually went up to her. I'm like, why are you yelling at me? I'm the customer. Like that doesn't make sense. Why would you yell at your customer? And she would try to defend herself. It's like, no, there's no justification for what you're doing. When someone's a customer, you need to be nice to them because they're paying you. That you have a job because the customers are paying for this, for this thing. And you know what? She was nicer afterwards. And I what I realized is that sometimes those people don't even know that they're being rude or they're being a jerk. Like they have no clue, right? Like so when you tell them like what a proper customer service looks like, then they know. And then I realized this is not a common sense thing. Like you would think it's common sense, right? Like you should be nice to other people. But I realized a lot of people don't even know that that's like normal. Like, say thank you and please and all that stuff. Like a lot of people don't know that you should say those things, which shocked me, right? Like, but that's a sad reality about life, It's not everyone.
Was it out of character? Was it out of character for you to say something to her?
No, I I do that all the time. Like
Okay.
I'm not pushy about it. Like I'm gentle about it. Like I kind of was like, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense, you know.
And
So
so do you think that's FI then? Because you're FI too, right? That's your second.
yeah, I have masculine FI like you. So like I'll give you another concrete example. Like a while ago, I work in a fitness facility, so I work in a fitness industry. Um, so this one guy, I think he's an ESTJ. It was kind of funny because I had an interview about this a few days ago. Like INTP, Kimberly. I don't know if you saw the interview, but
Mhm. Yep.
she said that when she uses her masculine TI to people, and she's correcting people about their illogical statement or there's something illogical about them, she will correct them, and she has like a feeling that probably annoys other people, but in her head, she's doing the other person a favor by correcting them with their illogical logic. So when I was at work, this guy who definitely seems to me like an ESTJ, he said to me, he did this really rude hand gesture to me, which is like this. Like imagine someone doing that to you. How would you feel? Like that's very
Yeah.
rude, right?
Like summons like a dog.
Yeah, like come here. Yeah, like come here, doggy. Like. So when he did that to me, he was trying to alert me that there's something wrong with one of the fitness equipment. But the first thing I did right when I saw him doing that was I approached him, and my mentality completely changed. And I said to myself, inside my head, I said, I don't care if I get fired. I'm going to call this guy out because, that's a rude thing. And that kind of behavior people should not get away with. So I went up to him and I said to him, why are you doing this? This is rude, And he tried to defend himself, right? I'm like, no, this is rude. That's not something that you do to people, if you want to talk to me, you can say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Like something nice, right? And then he freak out really hard. And then I'm a double decider, so I kind of saw his perspective like after he was talking to me. So I realized that I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't know better. He doesn't know this is rude. You know, he just didn't know. He had no clue. And he was trying to point out to me that, you know, there's something weird about the machine, right? And I think he felt that he was doing me a favor by pointing out there's something wrong with the machine. I didn't feel like he was doing me a favor. I thought he was being annoying. But, you know, like, I guess, you know, sometimes as a double observer, you don't know what other people are thinking. You think your point of view is what they're also thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So the weird thing was, because he was an EJ, you know, EJs like to put people in groups, right? Like they don't look at people as individuals. They look at people as a group. So he said, I don't have a problem with your people. And that kind of like threw me off. I'm like, what? This is not a race question, you know? Like, you know, the guy was white, right? Like, this is, I'm not talking to you because I'm offended that you're white and you're saying this to me as an Asian. I just said that this is a rude gesture, right? So I leave the room and I try to address the problem that he was having issues with. Then I come back to the room and I see him talking to another Asian and telling him he has nothing against Asian people. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like this guy is so clueless, you know? You know? So when you were telling me that story about the person in the store, maybe this person that you're talking to is just is socially stupid. You know, they just have no clue what like customer service is like, and that like when you call them out, maybe that was the first time they've ever heard this, you know, ever happen. I don't know. I'm just making
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe she just wasn't trained in well, the person, you know, whoever trained her in. Yeah. I don't know. I just find customer service lacking nowadays compared to 20 years ago too. So times are changing.
Yeah. Where do you live again?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Is it very like farmlands and whatnot in Minnesota, or what is it like in Minnesota?
Well, we have Minneapolis, which is St. Paul, Minneapolis, the two cities that are right next door to each other. That I think we have like 3 million people just in the cities here. So very right in the city metro area, very very busy and very city like. And then the outside, when you get maybe an hour out from Minneapolis, it's rural on all four sides. So I live an hour from Minneapolis, and we live on like a 30-acre farm. But then, you know, my husband works in the city, so he just commutes in an hour. Not a big deal, but yeah, Minneapolis is pretty big.
What is the vibe there? Like, cause you know, environment makes a big difference in your personality, right? So what is the vibe in that area?
Well, Minneapolis is very liberal. We Yeah, Minneapolis, St. Paul, very liberal cities. And then all the outside laying very, you know, conservative. So there's a good mixture between the two. I don't know how to explain Minneapolis. Do you not know much about Minneapolis?
All I know is like one of my favorite UFC fighter and WWE wrestler. I love WWF. I don't know if you know about that, but he's from there.
Mhm.
You know Brock Lesnar?
Yes.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar's from there, right? So I that's all
Okay.
that's the only thing I know about Minneapolis. I live in the
Yeah,
West.
it's very
So
okay. Yeah, it's very very city like. A lot of arts and yeah, I don't know. It's a great place to live. I don't know. I don't know how to explain Minneapolis.
have you traveled to other cities within United States, like, you know, the East Coast or West Coast? Like, have you been to LA or New York or?
No, but I've taken a road trip to like the Grand Canyon and some of the state parks and stuff like that. But city wise, no, I've never been to New York. I've never been to California. New York stresses me out. Just like how busy and noisy and people-y it is. I'm like, I have no desire to go to New York at all. Or even the big cities like Chicago. Maybe just go one time, but for me, like vacation or where I want to go is more Grand Canyon, state parks, hiking, quiet,
Nature.
forest. Yeah, very naturey. Don't give me a bunch of shopping or people and city life, and that stresses me out. So yeah, no, I want to go hug a redwood tree, or I want to go like, snorkeling, or do those kind of relaxing things.
When you did a road trip to Grand Canyon, did you fly into Vegas then? When you did that?
No, no, we went right from Minnesota, went through South Dakota into the Black Hills and Utah to Moab and all the state parks, and then went into the northern rim of the Grand Canyon, and then went to the southern rim, and then into Arizona and Colorado, and kind of made our way back. It was like a 2.5 week road trip with my husband.
That
So
sounds super fun. Seeing all those like
it was super fun.
national parks.
Yes. And here he's I'm pretty sure he's a ESTP, 90% sure. So
Yeah.
he's not a planner. I'm not a planner. We just hopped in our car. We knew we had about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
We just pulled into hotels when we were tired. We pulled into restaurants when
Yeah.
we didn't plan anything. And that didn't stress either of us out. I think planning would have stressed, because then you're on a time limit, and I hate
Yeah.
being on a time limit.
Yeah.
So I love that we both are just kind of go with the flow.
That sounds so fun. Like what you described. Like I feel tired, I'm gonna go check in a hotel. I don't even know what hotel, but I'll go check in one. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And we got lucky every time we came in. There was openings. There was one time we came into like Durango, Colorado, I think it was, and everything was booked except this super expensive, like $250 night hotel, like had, an upstairs, and it was ridiculous, but we had to pay it or sleep in the car, and we're like, let's just go for it. And so only one time we got burned for not planning.
Gotcha. So that's like a mini NI tidal wave, like a very small one. Is that you have to pay more for the hotel.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I have lead NE, right? So I am always planning, mainly because I think it costs more money if you don't plan ahead of time, like with the accommodation and stuff. But like I think the way you traveled is more fun actually. That sounds super fun. Like just go with the flow and check in whichever hotel looks interesting. You don't have to overthink it, right? So I'd have to do one of those like in the future one day. Let's talk about your double observer as a double observer. So does this mean you have a relative balance between chaos and control? Like if you have to discipline yourself for a while, you're okay with that. But then if you have to be more free, you're okay with that too. Like how do you feel about being a double observer?
Yeah, discipline for me, it's kind of I could do really, really well, and go on a bandwagon and eat super healthy and work out, and I'll do it for months or a year at a time, and then I kind of fall off the wagon, and then I like get into bad habits, and I'm like, I know I need to do this, and I'll get back on the wagon and do it. So I wish I was more consistent, but I don't try to beat myself up too much, and I just try to, you know, get back on discipline, and so yeah.
So your discipline is slightly more of a demon than your chaos. Like you seem very relaxed or at ease with like being spontaneous, or something bad happening. For you it's like, oh, okay, well, don't worry, we can go fix that. That's not a problem. You seem very laid back in that sense. But the discipline, it's not super bad, but like you said, you have fallen off the wagon, like let's say with your fitness or eating healthy and stuff.
Yeah.
But is it not too bad then overall, would you say?
Overall, I think I have a pretty good control of it. Probably because, well, my dad was morbidly obese, and so I watched a lot of health problems with him his whole life. So I think that fear of health and taking care of yourself is like engraved in me from a young age. So I've always been very nervous to not let my health get out of hand. And especially once you get in your 30s and you start realizing, oh, I'm not immortal, you start really paying attention to what you put in your body and how you treat it, because you only got the one. You need to behave. So if you want to live a nice long life, yes, you could still get hit by a car and die, but you try to make it the best. So
Dave's also said in one of his videos that double observers have problems with pain. So do you feel like you avoid pain, like whether that be physical pain or emotional pain? Like, would you go into lengths to avoid experiencing, emotional pain, like getting rejected or upsetting someone, or even physical pain, like exercising, like being sore after an exercise? Can you talk about that?
yeah, both. Yes, I don't like pain. Physical pain. Yeah, I hate, well, it's like a love-hate with working out. When you are doing squats and you can't sit on the toilet or get up from it for the 2 days, you're like, oh, it hurts so bad. But then you're like, oh, but this is like, you're doing something good too. So it's like, I won't avoid it because I know that, I'm doing something good. But I don't like the pain. I think I avoid emotional pain much more than physical pain. Be like, for example, I'm not one to call my friends up and say, hey, you guys want to get together Friday night? Because it kind of puts myself out there for rejection, and I hate rejection. And even if, like I've said, they say, oh, sorry, we're busy, I take it so personally, like, oh, they don't want to spend time with me, even though I know that that's not the case. But I still take things so personally, so I try to avoid it at all costs.
Okay, that's a very good point you just brought up. So yesterday I was talking to a double observer friend. I interviewed him in the past. His name is Alan, and he actually wants me to ask questions to double observer. So I'm gonna bring up my phone, and he has a specific question to ask. He wants me to ask double observer because we noticed something interesting yesterday, because we were having a chat on Facebook about calling people up to go hang out or just keeping in touch, right? And you said you're not the type of person that would call people to hang out because you don't want to feel that emotional pain of being rejected, because you'll take it personally, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so he said something very interesting. I'm looking at my phone right now because he had a question that he wanted me to ask other double observers. So this is a perfect opportunity to ask that. So we were talking about keeping in touch with people. And I told him that, he said, because I told him that, like I won't see someone for a year or two, but I don't have a problem reaching out to them out of the blue and be like, hey, how's it going? And he said, I would never do that. I'm like, as I said, I'm like, it's not hard, if you want to keep in touch with people, you just have to, send them even like a small message on, you can text them or send them a message on Facebook just once a year, that's not really hard. For me, it's not weird. And he said, no, I can't do that. That, like, if I'm not keeping in touch with them at least on like every 3 months, then this is not something that I would do. It's not acceptable for me to do. And I said, why not? Just freaking message the person. It's not a big deal. So he said, okay, why don't you ask other double observers how they feel about this? So I'm going to go ask you right now. It's important to keep in touch with people, right? Like maybe you have a friend that you've had for a long time. Maybe you've kind of just gone your separate ways. Not because you don't like each other, but, just life got in the way, right? But you still like that person, and you still maybe think about that person from time to time. Would you ever initiate reaching out to that person, let's say after 2 or 3 years that you haven't spoken to this person, just out of the blue? Would you ever do that?
I feel like I would need a reason to do it. Like if I maybe saw, they lost, like a loved one or something, of course I would reach out. But to just wonder how they're doing, I don't know. I don't know if I would. And even like my friends, they're the ones that usually text me. There'd be like 3-4 days and they'll be like, hey, just checking in. How you doing? I rarely reach out. And it's not that I don't even I think I don't even think about it unless it's been like maybe 5, 6 days. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from her. And then I'll reach out. But I think I usually am sitting back waiting for people to approach me. I don't know why I don't like putting myself out there. I don't know if it's the rejection or if it's just, part of it, I wonder if I'm just being, needy, or I don't want to come off feeling needy or wanting the spotlight on me too much. And so maybe if I feel like, oh, I've called them twice this week, that's too much. I don't want to over Sheila them, So
Yeah.
I feel, and I don't know if that's just why I think that way, because they're always usually like, oh, it was so good to hear from you. But yeah, I don't want to over Sheila people. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I mean, I understand why you're doing it. Like it makes sense.
Yeah.
What if it's like a
Or even like on this OP.
like what if it's a friend that let's say you went to college with, or like let's say a friend just like you've known for a while, and you just kind of gone your separate ways. You haven't spoken to this person in 3 years. Would you ever reach out to them out of the blue for no reason at all? Like no reason other than you want to say hi because you maybe you miss them. Like I said, that's very putting yourself out there. There's a risk of emotional hurt, obviously, but would you ever do that or never ever? Like look at your track record. Like have you ever done that
Mm-hmm.
ever? No reason, like not because like someone passed away in their family or something bad happened to them. It's just like out of the blue, you were thinking about them maybe, and maybe you miss them and you want to, or maybe you're just curious to see what they've been up to. And would you ever reach out to them?
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I don't think I have. I can't think of anything that I have.
Yes.
No, I
Would you
don't think so.
would you think that's weird to do that though? Like to just reach out to someone out of the blue. Let's say you haven't talked to them in 2 years.
I don't think it's weird, because if people have reached out to me and I'm always like, oh, and I'm glad they reached out. So I don't think it's weird, but I don't think I've done it
I see.
that I can remember.
So what's
But
what's
I would.
what's your attitude towards it then? Like why wouldn't you do it? Is it just the emotional rejection, or just you're just not thinking about it?
Probably not thinking about it, but if I have to think about it, it would just be like, maybe if they really wanted to talk to me, they would have reached out to me, like that type of thinking.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think not wanting to put myself out there.
gotcha. Okay, so there's definitely like as a double observer, as an IP, there is some similarities to EJs, where you both won't do it, but the reasons that as an IP and an EJ why you would not do it is completely different. So that's very fascinating to me, because the EJs will not do it because to them they think it's almost like like socially awkward to do. You know, that's not social thing. Like if you haven't spoken to someone in a while, that there's like a break of rapport, right? Well, for you, it's like I'm just not thinking about it. It's
Yeah, I don't think I think about it often until that person comes up on like a Facebook news feed, or they posted, or they reached out to me. Then I'm always like, oh yeah, but and I don't remember a lot of people either. Like I I just people kind of I forget about people, and I don't know if that's just that feminine sensory, but like, so my best friend that I've been friends with since kindergarten, I think she is lead SI, and it's got to be masculine because she remembers everything. So she's always like, "Hey, do you remember so and so, or do you remember that guy you dated?" And I'm like, "I dated him." I mean, it's just I don't remember half the people I know. So maybe that's why I don't remember even wanting to reach out to somebody, because I don't remember them. It's so bad.
it sounds more like a feminine sensory thing than anything. Like you just don't remember anything. Like you just maybe you live in a moment so strongly that like the past it's faded away and it's not important.
It's not. I don't think about my past hardly ever with anything. And it's not until somebody triggers something that I'm even like, oh, yeah, I do kind of remember that. So I don't ever think of memories on my own. Somebody usually has to trigger them. And they're really sporadic and broken up to yeah, it's bad. I wish I had masculine sensory. That would be nice.
It's so your best friend is a lead SI, then you would say?
I think she's an ISFJ, yeah, and I'm pretty sure she's masculine sensory. I mean, she can remember what I wore on I mean, just the details are unbelievable with her. And so I love having her as my best friend for the last 40 years because anytime I need to think of something, I just call her up and she's like, oh yeah, you did blah, blah, and this and that. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
she's my memory. And if anything happens to her, I'll just be, I mean, on numerous reasons, I'll be up so like heartbroken. But yeah, she when we're 90 and sitting in the nursing home, she'll tell me all about my life that I won't remember anything, but she'll tell me them.
That's so fascinating. I grew up with a lot of masculine S sensory people, not just SI, but SE also, and they love talking about the past to a point where it actually gets annoying. 'Cause, like I have masculine SI too, and I like talking about the past, and I do remember it. But I'm like, come on, you like the problem with I think masculine sensory sometimes is like they can't move on from the past. I'm like, you know, it's time to move on. You know, we like you need to live in the now and in the future. Like you can't keep living in the past. Like look at you now. You're still acting like you were like when we were teenagers. You know, like it's time to grow up.
Yeah,
Time to move on and grow
I
up.
do said that. They got the Uncle Rico syndrome from Napoleon Dynamite, right? Did you see that movie?
I did. I just don't remember that character. But yeah,
Yeah, he was living his glory days with the pigskin and the football, like over and over. He had like one play, and it's that person who talks about that high school, like remember when I was, yeah. I know some of those people.
yeah. Like I know this is gonna sound bad, but sometimes when people talk about like their glory days, I'm thinking to myself,
Yes.
but what about now? Look at you. You're not that cool person anymore that you were before, but you can be if you do something about it, you know, and they
Yeah.
won't. They're so stuck in the past. And I'm just like, oh my God, you need to get
Yeah,
out of that.
they need to make new glory days.
Yeah, yeah. Why can't you make new glory days? Why are you so stuck in that like one special moment in your life? Like no one cares about that anymore. It's so long ago, right? It's nice to reminisce about it, but you know, you don't want to get stuck that in that area too, because then you know, because
Yeah.
you're in the now. You're like you need to be here, or at least in the future, right? So, all right, Sheila, we're gonna wrap up the interview pretty soon. I have two last questions for you. First one
Okay.
is you're a very special case for an IP in the sense that you don't get as many tri people getting upset at you. You know, like you seem to get along with tri people relatively well. And now that I've spoken to you for an hour,
Mhm.
you definitely seem like a type 9 to me now. like you're
Do I?
yeah. Like after talking to you for this whole time, like just everything that you described, like go with the flow. Oh, yeah, you're very go with the flow, and you keep saying that over and over again, right? Like so yeah, it definitely seems to me now that you're type 9 and your tri type is the 4. You know, just based on that. I don't know if you're 9 wing 8 or 9 wing 1 though. Like I don't know if you're all about like doing the right thing, being ethical, being disciplined versus like being impulsive. Just if you know, if I want something, I want it now. I think you're more type 9 wing 8. I don't know if I'm right, but that's what it seems like to me. Especially since you got
Yeah,
upset at.
I think I swing back and forth really easily between the two because I will see the one, but then I'm like, oh, there's that 8 coming out. So I think I pull back and forth from them
What do
quite
you think?
often. So it's
What do you think is more important to you? Like coming across as strong and not weak, even to yourself. Like let's say when you exercise, you never give up, or is it better for you to do the right thing? Like you know, like this is what's ethical, so this is what we must do. This is the right thing to do. You know, discipline is very important. You know, everything has to be structured and organized. Because I feel like based on your description, you're not that super structured and organized. You're more go with the flow. Let's if I want something, I want something now. You talked about shopping earlier, remember? Like if you want to buy something, you buy it now. Because you could be dead tomorrow, right? Like that's kind of like your mentality. Um, and and you also got upset at that lady, and you were quick to just like tell her off, right? And that's like a very wing 8 kind of thing to do, right? So that's what I think. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I guess if I had to pick, 8 sounds a little bit more common. Yeah, because I am pretty impulsive, and I will push at the tribe, and but I always do it very jokingly and lovingly too, but with that kind of like jab at the very end,
Yeah,
like still I'm making a point, but I'm trying to come across as sweet as possible, but you're being a jerk, knock it off type, attitude. So
yeah,
um I guess I'd have to maybe lean more to the 8 when you describe those two.
yeah, that makes sense. You're still a 9. That's why when you do it, it's very soft and friendly and peaceful. But it's
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's right. So what kind of advice would you give other IPs then? That my question to you, because a lot of IPs might get a lot of people upset as a result of just not thinking about other people or not caring about other people because they're so self-absorbed, like just thinking about themselves all the time, right? So you seem to be good at it because your tidal waves are just mini waves, So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think you're doing right that they could possibly do better off so that people would friendship would be longer lasting, like you have long lasting friendships, for example.
Yeah, I guess just getting out of yourself and realizing you're not as great as you think you are, like um just being humble and knowing that yeah, you just and I'm always putting myself in other people's shoes. And it just comes super easy for me to know how they feel, and I can kind of get how they feel. So I'm constantly putting myself in other people's shoes, and I think that helps because then I'm out of my shoes, I'm out of my head, I'm out of like consuming my whole world. And I like to I volunteer my time a ton, so I think doing more for others just helps get out of yourself. And I don't know, I just realize you suck too. Just like everybody else, you're not special. Yeah, so I don't know. Does that sound weird?
I don't think so. It sounds spot on. I think this is the kind of advice only an IP can give to another IP, right? uh and how do you feel happy that you're doing things for other people? Like, does that bring you joy in your life?
It does bring me joy. Yes, it brings me a ton of joy doing for others. It just makes my FI happy to do stuff for others. So, um, you know, and I want to be a good role model for my daughter too. And it's important. You have to walk the walk. You just can't talk the talk. So you have to do it. Even though I'm like, oh, I don't want to do some things. It's you've got role models that, or you need to be that role model. And it just makes me happy doing for others. And I love seeing other people happy. And I just want to bring joy to their face. I want to walk away from somebody and just have that sense of I think I made their day a little bit better. It's just so important for me.
So it seems to me like thinking about doing things for other people is more of like the problem, but because when you actually do things for other people, it's such a joy, but the thought about it, it's like such a drag. Would you say
Yeah.
that's about
Is
accurate?
that is that blast last?
I don't think it's blast last. I think it's like I think it's just your internal world. It does not match what's reality, because like I feel that way a lot of times too. Like I work in the fitness industry, so sometimes I'm like, oh my god, I have to train this person today. I don't feel like training this person today. I have to talk to this person, be nice and friendly. Oh my god, it's gonna be so annoying. Such I feel so drained already thinking about it. But then when I actually do it, I feel so energized, and like after the session is finished, they're thinking, like yesterday I convinced this lady to buy personal training, right? Because I felt like I could really fix her shoulder. She has shoulder issues, right? And she's, seen a physiotherapist before, a massage therapist, and no one's been able to fix her shoulder. But I felt just confident that I can fix her shoulder. So like a week ago, I said, go buy one session from me and I can fix it. It sounds so arrogant and like how can you fix something that like this other professionals has never been fixed, right? But I just I've done it before, so I knew what the problem was. So she finally said, okay, fine. I don't think she what do you call it? Like she was fully bought in that I could fix her shoulder, but she's like, okay, you know what? Like I've already tried other methods. Like I'm like, what do I have to lose to try one session with this guy? And then for me, I felt like I'm like, oh my god, now I have to train her today. Like she's not even bought in, so like it's gonna be such a drag to like convince her like we're doing the right thing here. But then when we actually did it, I actually fixed her shoulder, and you can see that her eyes like light up, and she was so ecstatic, and she's like, oh my god, you cured me. And I was like, oh, I felt so happy, I felt so good, like I was flying. Like just like when I went home, like back to my apartment to my girlfriend, I was telling her like how happy I felt like helping this lady, like fix her shoulders that she's bugging her for over a year now, and no one's been able to fix it. And I said, oh my god, it's like it's so weird to me, like the way you think, it's not real. It's not real. Like when you actually do it, like it's not real. You actually have to, when you help other people, that the feeling of happiness is so much more greater than like that thing that you're thinking in your head that's like making you feel freaked out or like feel drained. It's not real. So I feel like a lot of IPs are draining themselves thinking about it, but then maybe they should just try, because
Yeah,
they'll be surprised at what they see.
agree. Yes.
Yeah. So Sheila, last question. Do you have any question for me about my functions that you don't have? Because I have NE and I have SI. So like, do you have any questions for me about functions that like I have that you don't have, that maybe you want to learn more about? Like so that maybe next time you talk to someone that has those functions, you're like, oh, okay, I see that.
Yeah, and any, I'm a little fascinated with any. Whenever I'm like, people have any, I'm like, I find them so funny. I love their humor, and I don't know. Any. Well, tell me all about any.
Yeah. Do you have any friends that have NE, by the way? Do you have any like ENFP or
Not that
INFP?
I'm aware of. No,
So
none that I'm aware of.
am I one of the random ENFP that you've spoken to in your life then?
That I think so, because I mean, I just got into all this personality stuff, so I'm just learning a little bit about typing people, and I'm kind of clueless on most of the functions. So who knows, maybe my best friend was an ENFP and I didn't even know, but I don't know. No, I think I'm around a lot of SI people. And so I know SI well
Yeah.
just by being around a lot of SI people. And a lot of people thought I was SI because I like to organize and color code things and laminate things, and very organized sensory. But can that look a little SE-ish too?
It sounds like a combination of your NI and SE. Like you're kind of using your
Okay.
NI to organize, and then your SE for color coding and stuff. You're also double feminine,
Yeah.
right? So you're very visual as a result.
Yes.
So it's kind of weird because I've noticed that like certain types tend to clump together. So like people who are lead sensory tend to hang out with people who are lead sensory, while people who are like lead intuition would tend to hang out with people who are lead intuition. Like even my friends who are sensory are like the jumper kinds of sensory, where like let's say ESFJ, they're like the uh, FENE type, for example. And I don't have any
Okay.
I don't have any ISFP friends. Like I've never had one. I've never had an ISFP friend. Never had an ESTP friend, like your husband. Never had an ISFJ friend. Like it's very like particular who my friends are. Like it's really weird. But like but I do have sensory friends. Like I have one of my best friends is an ISTJ. So for example, but we're the complete opposite. Like all our functions, like it's the flip, right? So there's like a mutual curiosity with that. But like to answer your question about NE, like NE is like crazy. It's like I'm pretty crazy. Like I think like I go to so many dangerous countries. First of all, like I've been to Venezuela, for example. There's like a civil war there, and I went there. Like I'm going to Congo like next month. You know, where there's like an Ebola outbreak and and whatnot, and there's like, and so it's like really crazy. Like I really look at the possibilities in the future about like what I can do with my life, right? And I get so excited about it. Like oh my god, like I see myself kind of like an adventurer, and I'm like going to like all these places around the world, like kind of like Indiana Jones, like very like 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 I don't want to live my life where like I'm just stuck in one place and I don't really see the world, the truth. Like I have like this deep inner conviction where I feel like I'm kind of like a journalist. Like I'm not a journalist, but like I have a travel blog, right? So I go to a country and I write about my experience, what I notice about the people there, the culture, how it's different from the culture here in North America, and like I like to talk to people in other countries, like almost like kind of like I'm doing here right now. Like I really love interviewing people, getting to know them, and like seeing like their thought process. Like I just get so excited over that. So like the NE is all about like the possibilities. Like I want to know more about you. I want to learn everything about you, about not just you but your culture, like how you live your life. I want to go to different places around the world, learn about everyone, and kind of like cross-reference them, kind of see like the difference. I want to see like the universal truth about the human life, because like just because you live like I know people who's only like I live in Canada. I live in Vancouver, Canada. So I have friends who's never left Vancouver, Canada, and they're I feel like their mindset is so close-minded because like they've only known what's here. But like let's say I go to the US, like you go to Portland, right, in the US. Everyone in Portland, it's like a very like hippie-ish type. It's like everyone in Portland feels like they're type 4. Like everyone wants to be different, unique, hippie-ish. Then you go to Seattle, it's very tech oriented. So it's just very fascinating for me to learn all this. So to answer your question in more concrete terms, NE is looking at the different possibilities in the future, that what I could possibly do. I can hold multiple thoughts of the future in my head. So I can see what's going to happen next week. I can see what's happening 1 month from now. I can see what's going to happen 6 months from now. I can see what's going to happen 1 year from now. And I have multiple plans for those multiple futures. I don't know if that sounds exhausting, just listening to that, but that's, for me, it doesn't feel exhausting.
No, it doesn't sound, it sounds exciting, but it doesn't sound like anything I would do, like, but I'm always fascinated with the opposites too, and with my husband, with the lead SE, and he's like very he's like this wild 7-year-old kid who's on steroids because he's just go and loves, but he's more action in the now, not in the future at all. I mean, it's just like, let's take this ATV we have and build a 20-foot ramp and fly off at full speed after 2 years. That's his excitement for the night or something like that, where I'm like, you're gonna die. So he's in the moment, just like, just, yeah, he's crazy that way. But would he go traveling? Maybe, but no, he's more of just, let's just do this right now. And he's Mr. Wild. I don't know. He's very ESTP-ish, I think.
Yeah. Well, that makes 100% sense. Like this, just based on how you describe your husband. Like even when I was going backpacking, I've met a lot of people like that. And I feel so drained. Like they'll go up to me and they're like, "Hey man, let's go party, and afterwards we can do this crazy, like we can jump on the river." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to do any of that. That doesn't sound exciting to me. That sounds horrible." And then they start criticizing me. It's like, "What's wrong with you?" It's like, "What's wrong with you? You've been here for a while and you're not like."
But chicken.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not like that. I don't enjoy that stuff, but like I get why you like it, and that's fine. You should do it because you like it. But don't drag me to it. I don't like that stuff,
Yeah.
Like,
And me being SE second, I will be a little more daring,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely a little more cautious, not like him, where he's just, yeah, he's more of a daredevil and doesn't think about the consequences at all. Where I think it's my NI is a little bit better than his. So I'm like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, or a possibility of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be driving you to the emergency room. And I'm thinking all these, not even the possibility. I'm thinking the one outcome, I guess, the NI outcome, that you're going to be in the emergency room and I'm going to be, waiting on your hand and foot and wiping your butt because you broke your arm for, your two arms. So I'm definitely see the outcomes more than him. He's just oblivious to NI.
Has uh has he had any big NI tidal wave for not planning for the future or not even thinking about the consequence of his actions?
Well, I think, we've been married for over 20 years, but when we got married, he I know, like, our first two tax returns were completely gone because he owed money to the IRS and he owed money for this and he was in debt. And so his tidal waves and not paying bills and just being reckless. So I had to, like, take control of all the bills and pay everything. And so we spent, like, probably the first 2 years of our marriage bailing, his lack of planning and being
Yeah.
reckless out. So, but I think I have become his mother,
Yeah.
and I probably have prevented a lot of tidal waves that could have come because I'm like, oh no, we shouldn't do this, or I'll talk him off the ledge of doing something crazy. So, or else I'm sure he probably would have been dead by now. I just know it. He probably would have been.
It sounds to me that you were forced to use your NI because of your husband. Like you had to develop it. Otherwise, like you said, your husband would be dead or you guys would be living in the streets, you know?
Yes, we'd be homeless and probably bankrupt. And yeah, I probably have had to develop it because his is so underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another hilarious thing, like, I know Shannon and Dave were talking about how Demon NI2 is like um weird about, like, ghosts and stuff. And I don't know, when we went house shopping and we'd go to, like, some, like, turn of the century built in, like, 1890s house, and we'd pull up with the realtor and he's like, nope, I'm not going in there, it's haunted, I know it's haunted. I'm like, it's an old house, and he's all freaked out about hauntings, or he'll freak himself out in the dark, because we live out in the country.
Yeah.
And he'll watch some scary, he loves scary movies, like all the murder scary horror shows. But then he'll freak himself out and go outside and be like, I think something's after me. Something, like, there's nothing after you. And I had to laugh because when Dave and Shan were explaining, Demon NI and how that can manifest, I'm like, that is so him. And I just don't have that. And so, yeah, I wonder, that's a good observation, that I had to develop mine a little bit more for him.
Yeah, but your husband does sound like a lot of fun to be with, just hearing all this crazy stuff that he does. Like, I can tell you're never bored with him around.
No. And I love that. That's one of my most favorite things about him, even though it can be exhausting, but I love that and wouldn't trade 1 second of it at all. I mean, nope. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's great. I guess that worked out for you guys perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if ISFP and ESTPs are like the perfect match, but we've made it work.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it's working great, actually. Not just work, but great. Like,
Yeah.
All right, Sheila. Thanks for doing the interview.
Thank you.
Definitely learned a lot from you. I think you're the first one. I'm not, maybe second one. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. Yeah, second one. But I think the other ISFP that I interviewed is very different from your animal stack. So you guys are not the same at all. But I definitely learned a lot from
Yeah.
you.
Was it Emma?
Yeah, it's Emma.
Yeah. I think our animals are similar, but she's FM where I'm FF. So I don't know if that, but I think we're almost twins, other than she's FM and I'm FF.
Emma really came across as an INFP to me when I spoke to her. You know, like you like, I mean, if I'm just going by vibe here, like you know, because you get a vibe when you talk to people, right? Like when I talk to Emma, she gives me a strong INFP vibe. So I don't know if it's because of her sleep, but like for you, you're definitely definitely ISFP vibe. Like you, there's no denying it. Like I would not question if you told me you're ISFP. I'm like, okay.
Well, that's good to hear, because I was really struggling with it, and so it feels good to hear somebody else too, because it's like you want to just have that settled over you and not people. Oh no, this that, and so it's nice to hear that I do come off as ISFP vibe.
Yeah, and it was very clear too, like the way you told your story. Like I mean, you use play a lot to kind of talk to people, right? So when you were telling me your story about your life, it was easy for me to link. Like, okay, the reason why you're not having problems with NI was because your husband forced you to use NI. If you don't do it, you know, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You know, and same thing with your SE. Like, I mean, sorry, not SE, with your TE. If you didn't work as a hairdresser, talking to all sorts of people, you would not be so good with your TE. So, you know, like other people actually forced you to be good at it. And now you're actually one of the more well-balanced ISFP out there. Like, I don't know if it's, I mean, the funny thing is you didn't even plan for it. It happened by pure coincidence, but it worked out, you know, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So all ISFPs should marry an ESTP and become a hairstylist, and you'll be as great as me.
Yeah, that's right. Or they can marry an ESFP too. That would work too, because they're both crazy, right? So,
Yes.
all right. I'm gonna go say goodbye to everyone now, and thanks again.
All right.
And
Thank you.
and I'll hit the pause button
It was
now.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right.